an important aspect in making wine is the closure used, the corks or various caps. So today I'm with Todd Steele from Metrovino, and we're going to discuss some of the merits of each of the different styles of closures.
Sure, yeah. I know, when you go to the store and you buy your wine and you come home, it's, a grab bag once you open up the foil to see exactly what it is.
What's underneath.
Exactly what the wine could be. We've got a few here that are some of the most common. Obviously, well, there's also plastic corks or rubberized corks that are used oftentimes.
Okay.
Not a huge fan of those. A lot of the time they actually just stick to the wine queue when you're trying to get them off at a table, and they can slide in and out. But cork is what is still most commonly used, and there are a lot of different examples of it. Two that we have here. One is, this is kind of a ground up and reprocessed cork, actually, if you will. These work great, and you'll oftentimes see them in budget wines that the packaging really can be a large portion of the cost of a wine, so it's a way of kind of controlling costs.
And this is actually a recycled cork?
Oftentimes it's either recycled, which they're starting to do now. Willamette Valley Vineyards has a program that they're starting up, which I think is great. Or it's from major cork manufacturers that have leftovers that get reformed.
Okay.
As long as they're clean, it's going to work really well.
Good.
Natural cork, and this is a good example of a quality natural cork here, tends to breathe. It's a permeable layer. So a little bit of oxygen comes in slowly over time, allows the wine to develop. But there are problems that can come up with that. The wine can start to leak through if the cork, especially if the cork's dried out. You'll oftentimes see wines stored on their side.
Right.
The reason for that is to keep that cork, keep a little moisture in the cork, keep it plumped up, and creating a nice seal. So there's a nice slowly controlled release of oxygen into the wine, very, very slow, but nothing's coming out, not too much isn't coming in, and the wine can age gracefully for many years under a standard cork.
But it's definitely part of the process in the aging of a wine and helping it develop those flavors.
It develops, yes, quite nicely with just that little bit of oxygen, slowly kind of chipping away at things and developing the bottom bouquet.
Okay, so we're starting to see...
Sure, these have taken on, it used to be, it was only cheap wines that were served with screw caps.
Right.
Now you're starting to see really some very high-end wines being served with, or being closed up with a screw cap. These definitely are great products. As time goes on, they're starting to learn that the wines actually age quite nicely. They are very easy, obviously. Okay. It's just a quick little flick of the wrist.
Do you still store the bottle on its side, or it doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter. Okay. Storage conditions with a screw cap wine are not nearly as important as with a cork.
Okay.
You're keeping the humidity up and so on and so forth. Doesn't matter, just as long as it's nice and cool. And so you're going to see a lot more wines coming in screw cap, I think, as the years go on. They have their own little issues. If you get nicked or whatnot, they can open up. But for the most part, you're going to see them a lot more, and they're good. They're a very good product.
Okay. And then, yeah, I've seen this one before.
This is one, I believe it was developed in Austria, somewhere in Northern Europe. But this is a glass closure. Same principle. It's an airtight. There's a little silicone seal. Airtight closure. The cool thing about these is that they're reusable. Okay. They are recyclable because they're glass, but the same winery can use these over and over again.
The same one.
So we'll collect them and give them to, there are a couple of wineries here in the valley, or here in Oregon, pardon me, that use these closures. I think that this is one of my favorite closures out there. They're very elegant, easy to open, easy to work with. They do a great job of resealing wines.
Still some of the romance of the cork.
Yeah, there's still some, and I think that's some of the deal. The resistance to screw caps is that romance of a cork. Corks have their own problem. I know that they get presented in a restaurant oftentimes, and
so tell me about
is there a story behind it?
Well, yes, so when you're presenting me the cork at a restaurant.
There are a few things that you are looking for. It's not just pomp and circumstance. There is a reason for it. And it'll tell you, a cork will tell you a lot about the storage conditions of the wine, whether or not there was a bit, the cork had dried out.
Okay.
If you see that, let's say on a really old wine, it's completely red from a red wine, and in fact the top of both sides, and there's maybe a little mold on it. That means that it's been leaking, and there are a couple reasons that could have happened. One of them is it was not properly stored. It could have gotten really hot, and temperatures increase, and the wine pushes its way out. There's a bad cork. I mean, these aren't, these are a pretty au naturel product, and occasionally there are faults in the cork. So it can tell you a lot about the storage conditions of wine. I don't always like to smell them because I really honestly think that it smells like cork. And the older the wine gets, the more and more that the aromas can kind of not be particularly pleasant coming off of a cork.
So that's the thing. Take a look at the cork, but I don't need to smell it. So
you don't necessarily need to smell it because you're going to be smelling the wine in a moment. If the wine is corked with cork taint, you can sometimes from the cork get that, but otherwise I would always suggest just smell the wine as it comes through. You can feel the cork and make sure it's still nice and firm and plump and it's been stored properly. And then it's after that, unless it's sentimental, it's do what you want with it.
Very good. Well, thank you for saving me from looking kind of silly when I get that cork. Appreciate all these tips.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you.